Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Today, we're going to talk about how the mind works and how you can use that knowledge to escape the cycles of the Matrix. Now, this doesn't have to be as far-fetched as it sounds. You've got to understand that the way that your world exists now is completely and totally predicated upon two principles: the principles of body and the principle of mind. And everything is based off of your reactions to the things that you crave and the things that you run away from, pleasure and pain. That's the binary operating system that this computer runs off of. And if you understand exactly how these cycles work, you can break free from that cycle and begin to have a higher degree of control over your life so that you don't feel helpless, you don't feel lost, and you don't feel powerless. So, aside from accumulating all types of knowledge on all types of things, you've got to know when is the best time to apply that knowledge. You've got to get into the habit of applying the knowledge in the moment, in the right now. Some Marines have this phrase called left of bang, right? And essentially, you're looking at a timeline where bang happens in the middle. Bang is whatever event occurs, whether it's gunfire or, some attacker, a robber, something, whatever the event is, happens, right? You've got the timeline. To the right of bang, which is the event, is reactions to the event. Everything that you're doing and dealing with after the event has already happened. You want to stay out of that zone. Left of bang is the preparation before the event happens. Left of bang is having the awareness to recognize the potential ingredients in the recipe for a certain situation. In other words, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of what's going on, and understanding how to prepare for these situations. So understanding how the mind and how the body works and the grasp that it has on your reality can help put you left of bang. And before things happen in your mind, you can learn to deal with them before it becomes an issue. Or in Buddhism, before it starts to cause karma. I'd like to read a message that I received on Instagram because I think that it will help to illustrate the point and to highlight certain issues that I think a lot of people may be experiencing right now. Of course, with permission, I'm sharing this message, and it goes: Hi Travis, been having thoughts and which I'm not proud of. Thoughts that might be sexual. I'm too ashamed of saying what. Violent thoughts of killing people. Sometimes even seeing myself pushing people onto moving trains, hurting family members. Now I always catch myself and dismiss these thoughts. I know I might need to deal with them. I want to know, how do I go about it? I know these are low-level thoughts, and I'm afraid I might be feeding them as they always reoccur. Currently I'm reading the book you recommended, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. So, you may find that you also are experiencing thoughts that feel like they're beyond your control. Some people are more prone to more violent thoughts. Some people are more prone to sexual thoughts. Some people are more prone to whatever, right? But it feels like your thoughts are running away from you and you have no control over them. Well, one thing that you have to understand is that the mind and the body are intricately connected. Thoughts are going to happen whether you want them to or not. Anyone who's a beginner at meditation or experienced with meditation will tell you, you can't stop your thoughts. You can't silence them. It just doesn't work that way. Thoughts are going to continue to populate. And here's why. Your body is an instrument. The whole body is an organ. It's a sensory organ for the mind. Okay? The mind experiences life through the body. So every part of your body is a sensory organ. What that means is that you're continuously receiving input from every part of your body, from all of your senses, all the time. There's somebody cutting grass outside. That's input for my ears. There's smoke, there's lights, that's input from my eyes. There's smell, input from my nose. Aside from the 5 senses, there's also input going on in the background. My reactions to these things, the definitions that I've put upon these things, right? When I smell this smell, it triggers memories in my head. When I hear this music, when I see these lights, it triggers memories in my head. There's so many processes of input going on. And it's commonly known that we filter out most of the input and only focus on the matter at hand, if you're lucky, at best. But what's going on is these stimulations of body are causing thoughts to happen. This is why you can't stop your thoughts, because your body is continuously picking up data, information, and it's continuously triggering thoughts. So this mind-body connection forms a loop where body stimulation causes mental reaction, and then mental reaction causes action of the body. So you've got this cycle that continues. Your body's picking up senses, your mind is triggering memories and thoughts, making judgments on them. Then your thoughts begin, whatever thoughts you focus on, begin to create actions of the body. And anyone who's not aware of this cycle continues to perpetuate this cycle without their consent, without their control. Now you take that and you add the fact that with media, with cell phones and television and radio, there is a purposeful effort to steer your attention in certain directions, mostly to buy products. So you've got all this input, all this subliminal messaging going on, pushing your attention here and there and everywhere. So it's no wonder that people null themselves, dull themselves, retreat, are blind or asleep, right? Are under the spell of mimetic magic, or under different cycles of humanity. When I say cycles of humanity, I mean these loops, these behavioral and thought loops that we keep ourselves locked in because they're comfortable, because repetition runs the subconscious mind. See, the way this all works is the subconscious mind is the generator of your reality. What you put in the subconscious mind and what you reinforce in the subconscious mind, it will produce that thing. So if you're not in control of your thoughts and your actions, whoever's in control of causing you to be triggered is implanting these thoughts into your subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind ruminates on these things, and it provides opportunities and scenarios to manifest these things that you're receiving. This is why awareness is key. And this is what I mean by left of bang. Bang is the moment that you become triggered, whether it's an emotional thing, whether it's a memory, whatever piece of input stimulates particular thoughts. That's bang. What awareness is being able to be in the moment and to recognize when that trigger happens, and instead of blindly following the impulse of the body or the mind, you use awareness to analyze what's going on. You separate yourself from the reaction. You separate yourself from the thought process, and you analyze what's going on, right? So in the case of this person who's having these violent sexual thoughts, or these violent thoughts in general, you have two choices. You can reinforce these thoughts. You can feed into these thoughts. You can continue playing along and fantasizing with these thoughts, right? And what that's going to do over time is cause you to perform actions based on these thoughts, because thoughts are seeds. You're feeding them to your subconscious mind. The more that you water these seeds, it's going to develop an action in the physical realm. That's one choice. The other choice is to observe this behavior. When you begin to have these thoughts, analyze the body. What did you do, or what stimulated your body to trigger these thoughts? This is what happens during insight meditation. This is what happens during vipassana. When you sit still, You don't focus on trying to astral project or trying to stop your thoughts or do this or that. You simply focus on the body, and you focus on the reactions of the body. You focus on how your skin feels, how the air passing across your skin, how the breathing is through your nose. You scan the body, and what you begin to see is that thoughts are triggered by body input, by the impulses received by the sensory organs. They trigger thoughts. Thoughts don't just come out of nowhere. They're received. When the body receives this vibration of whatever it is through all the sensory inputs, it triggers memories, and those memories cause you to give definition. And this starts this cycle of thinking. It's automatic. So if you take yourself out of the moment, right? When these thoughts begin to pop up in your head, take yourself out of that thinking. It's not you thinking these thoughts. You understand that it's your body receiving signals that is triggering these thoughts. It's a process. It's a computation. It's a computer process. When you take yourself out of the moment and you begin to realize this, you can separate the object from the subject. You can separate the animal from that which is observing the animal. And this starts the process of separating body from mind to spirit. Because as humans, as most of you are, as all of us have started out, our mind is focused outward. It's focused outward on the sensory perceptions. We calculate reality based on our senses. But as you learn meditation and spiritual practice, the mind begins to go inward, and it slowly starts to learn how to separate from body senses to thought. And then as you work further, you separate body and thought from spirit. And you realize that it is spirit that is experiencing this 3D reality through body and mind. But before you get there, you have to gain experience in this body-mind loop. You got to see it in action. It's not enough for me to tell you about it, and it's not enough for you to read about it. You literally have to sit down and meditate and observe your body, right? Just sit still, and you're going to get this little pain in your leg or a cramp. Put your attention there and observe it. Observe how that little pain in your leg is discomfort, and it's causing aversion. It's causing you to run away from it. It's forcing you to make a decision to move, right? That's happening automatically. That's not you saying, okay, I want to move now. You're wanting to move for a reason. And that reason is you're running away from pain. Every decision that human beings make is running towards pleasure or running away from pain. Every single one. And when you get into meditation and you experience this reality for yourself, you can start to put the pieces in order. In order to have spiritual success and mental strength, you have to be able to put reality in order to understand these things properly, or else they just run you on autopilot. So when you're sitting in meditation and you're realizing that this pain has come, when you don't give into it, when you just observe it, when you separate yourself from the experiencer into the observer, you notice that eventually that pain goes away. And that teaches you a valuable lesson, that every piece of stimulation comes and goes. Every single piece of stimulation comes and goes. It rises and falls. It's called impermanence. Impermanence is key in awareness, insight, meditation. So what this does with your thought process is when you receive this input, when you learn not to give into it, not to react to it, not to attach to these thoughts, not to identify with these thoughts, when you just observe them, you're taking yourself out of identifying with these thoughts, and you'll find that they go away. When you stop feeding them, they go away. It might take a little bit of time because you've got so many years of being used to feeding these thoughts, but once you practice detaching from identifying with these thoughts, because they don't define you, they're simply your body receiving input and you putting definition on that input. That's all it is. It's a mechanical process. So now we're learning to separate from the mechanical process, separate from the machine. You're the ghost in the machine. But first you have to know how the machine works. And this is exactly how it works. The body runs from pain and runs toward pleasure, and it generates thoughts based on those two impulses. It's an endless cycle. It's not going to change. What you have to do is learn how to not identify with that process. And it takes practice. And that practice is done through insight meditation. In the realm of meditation, you begin to realize with experience how this plays out. Once you master that process, you begin to master yourself. At that point, the cycles of humanity begins to weaken its grasp upon you, begins to loosen its grasp upon you. It doesn't affect you as much because you don't identify with humanity as much. And as you practice this process, you get better, you get stronger. You gain more insight on the true nature of reality. You reach higher and higher in spiritual levels. You let go of ego things naturally because you're no longer identifying with the body. See, one crucial thing I learned when I went through my experience with psychedelics and mushrooms is that reality is very intricately based on your thoughts. Where your head is at, where your mind is at determines so much. And we don't even realize that. You can be the most depressed and sad person in the world and have all the opportunity in front of you, but you're not going to see it because your mind is stuck in the past, in pain, right? It all depends on your mind. And when you're in that very sensitive space of a psychedelic experience, your thought process and your perspective and your attitude is the steering wheel, and it gets very sensitive. It's like playing a first-person shooter and you raise the sensitivity all the way up to 10. A few bad thoughts can quickly send you down a bad trip. But see, if you don't understand that you have control over giving into these thoughts or not giving into these thoughts, you're going to just be pushed to and fro by your environment, by the body impulses. When the body begins to shake, you're going to remember the last time that you began to shake, and you're going to think, oh no, I'm in danger, I'm in fear, I'm paranoid. That's going to send you down a spiral of somewhere else. That's with the sensitivity up to 9. When you take the sensitivity down to 1 in your everyday life, the process happens a little bit slower, a little more gradually, but it still happens that way. Your definitions determine what thoughts you have, and the thoughts you have determines what actions you take. So step out of that process, step out of identifying with the thoughts and observe them as they happen and change them in the moment. Get left of bang. Fix your thoughts before they fix you. See, again, people talk about, I don't want to reincarnate in this life. I want to be done with it after I'm finished. I'm tired of this world. I'm sick of this world. Well, look, if you are not able to hold your focus while you're in a body, if you're not able to control your thought process while you're in a body, what makes you think you're going to be able to do that when you don't have a body? When you're out there, right, in heaven or hell or space or whatever you believe happens when you die, if you don't have control over your consciousness, over your awareness, if you can't keep it focused, what makes you think you're going to have control over it when you leave the body? Newsflash, you won't. And you're going to end up craving the experiences that you had when you had a body. And you're going to rationalize until you're going to say, you know what, maybe it wasn't so bad being a human. Let me be born again. And you start this bullshit all over again. Right? A lot of us have heard and believe, oh, when I die, I can generate whatever reality, I can create worlds and universes. How are you going to do that if you can't focus for 5 minutes? Let's be real about it. Let's get out of the fantasy land and get practical. This is why I like a lot of the young New York guys. For some reason, they seem to be very practical about it. They seem to be very ambitious and practical at the same time. So I get a lot of awesome insight and questions from some of the New York guys in the group. But you got to be practical with it. Don't be too space cadet. There's reality to this stuff. It takes practice, and that's why we're here. That's why you keep coming back here. Every time you get better at it. Some of y'all just starting out, and that's okay. But the purpose here is to observe what's going on and transcend. And you're not going to do that getting caught up in race, getting caught up in politics and celebrity death and whatever outbreak and whatever natural disaster. If you notice, these cycles of humanity continue to repeat At the same time, there's always a political scandal, there's always a celebrity death, there's always a natural disaster, there's always some type of health concern. These 4 cycles continue to happen, and they continue to keep you in fear. They keep you reacting. That's all this is. Humanity is the true evil. It is the opposite of spirit. You continue to obey the lust of the flesh, the habits of the mind, and you keep repeating the same thing over and over. This is why women continue to go in abusive relationships back to back to back. It's a cycle that they're trapped in. They keep obeying the lust of the flesh and the pattern of the mind. This is why it's so hard for people to quit their addictions, right? This is why we end up in the situations we end up in, because we're not aware of the cycles. And when we become aware of them, we don't put in the effort to overcome them. So look, bottom line, if you want to break free of the matrix, if you want control, if you want to know how to get to that next level, it starts with being still and observing the body and observing the mind and observing the connection between the two. When you understand that, when you know thyself, you can move on to the next level. But if you don't take the time to meditate, what makes you think you're going to have any kind of power? If you can't focus down here for 5 minutes, what makes you think you're going to last 5 minutes in the afterlife? You're going to come right back. You're going to reincarnate. So, as usual, take what's helpful from this video, leave what's not. Do your own study, and please do your own practice. My words are not enough. Other people's words are not enough. Books are not enough. You got to put in the work. You have to get the experience. Experience can teach you so much more than any words or someone else's opinion. It's not about followers and likes and all this. That's all human stuff. What are you doing for your own soul? This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys. Compassion, because I understand where you are and I understand where I am. Peace.